Hello everyone, this is Tim with Online Big Blue bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. Well, we had a video that we were going to release today on Sunday, but we've changed it up a little bit because we had seen come across the wire that there is some speculation that Aldrick Rosas will be released by the New York Giants sometime extremely soon. I do not know if this information is true. We do not know. It's not coming from our sources. Of course, it is coming from the Twitter sphere. So we are just speculating that it is going to be true. And I was thinking to myself, okay, Mr. Aldrick has been charged with 3 misdemeanor crimes, and how does this really affect the Deandre Baker situation? Is kind of my question. Only because of the fact that Deandre Baker at this point in time is charged with multiple felonies, and he thinks he's already alerted the Broward County Sheriff's Office that he is coming to New Jersey to attend training camp. But we have not seen the Giants say anything about him able to come to training camp or whether he should come to training camp. He was told to stay away from the virtual workouts, so I'm not sure what makes in his mind thinks he is speculating the fact that he is going to come to training camp if they are truly cutting Aldrick. If they you know what? It's funny though, because part of my video the other day, what I was going to launch today, was about Dave Gettleman and how he's been extremely quiet on the Rojas situation and Deandre Baker. And I find it very interesting that, we hadn't heard anything, and these 2 cases have been pending for a little while. I mean, DeAndre's case has been pending a little bit longer, but Aldrick's case has been more than a month now. And I just found it interesting there was no official word out of East Rutherford in reference to what they're doing with these players. Now, if they cut, if they are cutting Aldrick, I don't have a problem with it. I think that, we found out before he had another DUI at this point in time. I mean, there are plenty of place kickers around that we can bring into camp. You always, the team sometimes always bring in that surprise guys that shock the world. If everyone remembers Ali Hajishik from the Giants, or even Eric Schubert. So, there's always those guys out there. Boy, I just aged myself there. But the question is, I always found it interesting that we never really had a response from, Dave Gettleman. I never blamed Joe Judge, because Joe Judge is the coach, and Joe Judge coaches the players that he's given. He's not, he's not into, I mean, he probably has some input in reference to, of course he does, releasing players and signing players, but where something like this, where it's a legal situation, I find it, I don't expect Joe Judge to be the one making the call. I figure it's going to be upper management. Now, we already knew that probably, especially in DeAndre Baker's case, he is going to get suspended by the league probably for at least 3 games, even if he's found innocent. And I think Aldrick wouldn't have gotten suspended, only because of the fact that he was charged with 3 misdemeanors. Now, he's lucky because a hit and run charge in the state of California, if there is a personal injury, is actually a felony. So he was lucky in regards only getting charged with 3 misdemeanors. But like I said, we did a whole video about how we had not heard anything from Dave Gettleman, and how Dave Gettleman's silence is kind of interesting, because it's almost like I thought personally he was trying to save his job, because you have the Aldrick situation, DeAndre Baker situation, and Nate Solder signing. Your draft class, your first-year draft class kind of regressed. So it was almost like he was keeping quiet just to try to save his job. But I can't, like I said, we can't confirm whether he's being cut or not. But I'm just curious, how does this affect the DeAndre Baker situation? I mean, if you're cutting a guy that was charged with a DUI and 3 misdemeanors, what do you do with a guy that is literally has been charged with 4 felony robbery accounts, and also the fact that he's being looked at for witness tampering? I mean, witness tampering and bribery. So I mean, and it's funny though, because it's almost like the fact, well, DeAndre was a 1st-round draft choice, we can't give up on him yet. Yeah, well, you dumped Eli Apple. And Eli Apple was a headache in regards to the fact that he was immature, like DeAndre. He had a lot of problems listening to the veterans on the team, like DeAndre. People said he wasn't that intelligent when it came to the playbook, like Deandre. But we shipped him off, to the Saints, and he was never criminally charged with anything. So I mean, I find that quite interesting that we can do that, but we're and you're talking about getting rid of Aldrick, but it's like, but we're going to keep Deandre Baker. And I've said it since day one, innocent or guilty, I think he should be cut. And that's just my personal opinion. And I know NFL standards, they're not going to cut what they perceive as first round talent. But when you have a guy that you hear all the stories that came out and everything else during the season, didn't learn the playbook, he didn't do what he was supposed. He did not do what he was supposed to do to be an NFL player, and he should not be giving that privilege of being an NFL player, because being an NFL player is a privilege, and people need to understand that. And he should not be allowed that privilege if he can't follow the rules, because his talent does not exceed. Good example, Lawrence Taylor, all-world talent. He could do whatever he wanted. Why? Because he was Lawrence Taylor, and he lived in the day of non-Twitter sphere. So the Taylor stories are legendary because they go by word of mouth. We didn't have Instagram back then. But when you have Instagram and social media now, you are put under much more, fair or unfair, you are put under much more of a microscope. So then my question is going to always be, what is going to happen with Deandre Baker? I think he's scheduled to come to East Rutherford either Sunday or Monday. So I am curious, is Dave Gettleman going to try to say, like I said, I think cutting Aldrick was easier than cutting Baker, because like I said, Baker is a 30th overall pick that he traded up to get, and like I said, place kickers, you can't find another place kicker off the street. Is he going to be as good? You got to remember, Aldrick did not have a great season last year. He had one bad season. He had a bad season his rookie season. He had a phenomenal year after that. Then he had a bad season again. So if you go by the law of averages, maybe he was coming in ready, looking at having a good season again. I don't know. I just find it interesting that Gettleman is, if they are truly making this call, that I do find it interesting that Gettleman is at this point in time, somewhat cleaning house of the problems going into training camp. So I do think it's going to be interesting to see how this affects Deandre Baker. I'm also kind of surprised that Deandre Baker has not been suspended by the Giants pending the outcome of his legal case. That they could easily put him on the suspension list, until his case is resolved, and that would resolve all of the issues in regards to, should he come to camp? Will he come to camp? Is he a part of the team? Is he not part of the team? I think that would have been the best way to go. Just say, hey, we are going to suspend him until further investigation, or until the outcome of the case is clear. But like I said, they're just kind of letting this all out in the breeze. And I think getting rid of Aldrick is easy because, like I said, he's the place kicker. He's not a 30th overall draft choice, and we could find another guy to bring in as place kicking competition. That's if this information is true. I do not know if this information is true. I am just reading what we're looking at on the newswire on Twitter sphere. So we kind of have to just wait and see, and kind of figure out exactly where we're going there. But I do find it interesting that Gettleman now is stepping up potentially. But like I said, I am curious to see how this affects Deandre Baker. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could subscribe, if you could ring that bell, you know what that means? That'd be awesome.